October, I decided to muster up the courage and go ahead and cold approach a girl in my school. I saw this girl a few previous times in the hallways prior, and I thought it would have been a good idea to go ahead and talk to her to get to know her better and see where things would go. However, unfortunately, things did not go as well as I hoped. She even made it clear that she did not want anything to do with me, since she even said, "Yeah, no." The worst part about all of this was that people ended up finding out just moments after, and slowly the whole school almost kind of started to pick on what happened pretty quickly. The whole situation got me very confused. It also got me overthinking a lot. It got me overthinking as I was pondering how things could have been if some things were different, if I may have been a slightly different person, if I may have had different characteristics, and whatnot. Definitely, it had been something that was unproductive for myself. Eventually, I got more self-aware of the situation, and I can tell you as of now, I am more self-aware of the situation, and I have, I guess you could say, more knowledge about what happened and what caused, me getting rejected than probably I had back in, let's just say, October. Needless to say, the most worst part about all of this was when I had heard that she was actually dating another guy and that she is in a relationship with this guy who apparently is higher quality than me and someone who is of higher status than me and someone who is what has been, I guess you could say, more ahead than me in life and more successful than me. I had no bitterness or resentment towards her, and I saw this as something that was over, and it was important for me to just go on in my life. I wanted to do little as possible, I guess you could say, with her. However, the thing was, I started having bitterness and resentment to an extent with maybe, I guess you could say, society as a whole, but I started feeling negative thoughts about this guy who I didn't know who she was apparently dating, and I started feeling like, I have to be a tougher person. I shouldn't although I shouldn't be trying to do this for her, but I should at least show myself and to show other people that he is not the person who is, I guess you could say, higher quality than I am. I have to show who I am, I have to show my potential, and I have to show the world this. I cannot let this be. Because this was something which was, I guess you could say, embarrassing for me, that she actually was dating someone else who people perceive as a more high value male, as corny as it may sound. I think it's very problematic when us as people, when we try to take our people who may have even hurt us, people who may be at fault with us, or people who, you could be jealous of, people who you could resent, people who you feel disrespected by, or people who you wish you had what they had. Essentially, it is wrong to have, I guess this is an idea, we have to prove the haters wrong. Or that we have to go ahead and show people where our potentials are, and that we have to make everyone feel as safe because they may have doubted our potential. The problem with all of this is that it makes us insecure as people, because we're going to be personalizing these people and saying that they're over here while we're just down here. It's pretty problematic because at the end of the day, you will not realize that there are people who will be having their own struggles too. And since you don't realize this, you're not going to be getting the bigger picture of what is actually happening. And the other thing too is that even if they are actually having less problems than you and there are people who may actually be successful, you have to consider two things. One, they may have actually did put the work in and got where they had to be. You just may not be at that level yet, but that is fine. As you're starting to learn more, as you're starting to become a better person, as much as you're going to be starting to realize where you should be, eventually you'll be somewhere where you'll be better than who you yourself are now. However, the other thing is, even if they are, where they are and it just happened to be luck, the problem is they can lose their status pretty quickly. Because if you're going to be by this, becoming very successful and, being so successful just by luck, very quickly you could be at the bottom like this too. So really, you have to consider that as well when thinking about all of this at the same time. And I think most of all, you're making another problem for yourself is that you are just getting yourself to a point where eventually you can become complacent. I think you may become complacent as you're going to be doing all of this because it is not easy for you yourself to be motivated by other people. The best way you can be motivated is just by yourself, because eventually you're just kind of having an adrenaline rush and it may eventually expire. Sure, you can try to like fuel yourself more by all of this and I guess all of this negativity, but how long do you really think it will last? Because if you're going to be doing something hard, something which is out of your range, that is good. But remember, there are going to be days where you're going to be feeling doubts. You're going to be feeling, I guess you could say, you know, I guess you could say you're doubting where you could be. The problem is, as you're going to be not willing to do certain things and you're going to be feeling stuck, how could you really be motivated to do all of this when your motivation was not yourself? Even the worst part will be, and this will even become the worst part because this will tie back to your insecurity. The worst part about all of this is when you're going to be even agreeing with those people and thinking that maybe they were right, or maybe society was right, maybe I'm actually worse off than these people, when that's actually irrational, because that probably is not the case. You just are feeling doubts about yourself because you did not really put too much emphasis on what you should be, what your priorities should be, and where you should be going in life. So that's something that is very important, I think it is, to consider. And I think worst of all is that when you actually find your own unique standards, when you actually try to see who you want to become and what you should actually be doing, it will actually be better for your life, because now you know what your end destination is. You'll know more specifically what is important, and that will actually be a more organized and clear way for how you should be growing, because you're going to be living your life for yourself. You're not going to be living your life for other people who may not even really care. And even if they do care, eventually it's going to be like, well, what will be next at that point? It's not going to feel as good as you may think. And then you should also remember another thing as well. If you're my age or even possibly a little bit younger, you're going to be probably seeing these years and these moments of not necessarily that this was your peak and that these years were the best years and every time else was worse, but probably because of nostalgia. You know, you yourself may even be feeling a little bit of nostalgia for your own childhood, for, you know, the years long before, because you may have actually be feeling whatever emotion you may feel. Quite likely, you'll probably be maybe feeling about the same thing for these type of days. So it is very important for, I guess, people to weigh in. Do we really want to be living in these moments and these times where we're going to be trying to like not even prioritize ourselves and not live life for ourselves and actually be happy, but be miserable only because we want to be proving people wrong? Because even if things do work out, you wouldn't be even finding happiness at the end of the day. You're going to be living years where, you know, you're going to be living now less stressed than maybe probably the future. And these moments, you decide to waste it because you just wanted to be distracted because you did not like how things may have been. It is pretty foolish now that even I think about it, and probably maybe you may be thinking the same way. You know, I think that it can have its use that you use our people for some sort of fuel for motivation if you may be doing it at the right way. In a sense, you're maybe making it as low as possible, maybe at best 5 to 10%. Because if you're going to be making it at a rate of 5 to 10% or at that limit, you're going to be using it as way more for self-awareness. You're going to be maybe using it as self-awareness that, you know, maybe perhaps for standards, maybe perhaps for, you know, the whole situation that's going around you, and enough to the point that you do not get distracted. Because if you're not going to be having an idea of what our people are like, you're just going to probably be isolated, and you're probably just not going to be able to have any self-awareness. So you have to be really using it as a tool, but it's probably one of the most lucrative tools when you're going to be trying to improve yourself, especially after a pretty bad situation, because you're going to be dealing with a lot of things around which can easily distract you as you be making comparisons. So that is all for today. I hope you learned something out of this video. I hope it helped you as much as possible. I will be seeing you in the next Azad Corner video.